All right, well, joining me on the program today is my good friend Gerald Celente. He is the publisher of the TrendsJournal newsletter, which I highly recommend that if you don't currently subscribe to, that you get it. It's available at TrendsJournal.com. Gerald, great to have you on the program today.
Oh, thanks for having me, Jerry.
I'm looking over your brand new summer 2012 TrendsJournal newsletter, and again, the theme that I've been seeing in your newsletter for the last several newsletters has been this theme of war. We're seeing the drums for war, obviously in Syria, Iran. We saw it in Libya. We saw it in Iraq. We saw it in Afghanistan. We're seeing it now in the Asian theater, South Pacific. Just insane amounts of war from a bankrupt nation.
We are already in the early stages of the first great war of the 21st century. People are just having difficulty adding it up because they're not looking at the big picture. You mentioned Syria. Civil war getting much worse. The United States and the Arab Little League are supporting the so-called rebels to overthrow the Assad government. President Obama has now warned that things are going to get much worse if they believe that Assad is going to do something with his chemical weapons, and that he could get in the hands of bad terrorists like the Al-Qaeda. So it's looked like some more U.S. involvement in Syria. But the big issue of Syria is, yes, it's a dictatorship. So are many other places around there. But you can call Syria a dictatorship or an autocratic government. But hey, don't say anything bad about that king over there in Saudi Arabia. Kings are good. You read fairy tales. King's good. Dictator's bad. That's right, little girls and boys. That's what the government tells you. You know, that wonderful democracy over there, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, where the women can't drive a car. Yeah, that place. And where they have a lot of unrest as well, because there are a lot of people that don't like the dictator, the king and his family running the whole show. And then you have Qatar and you have Bahrain, but they don't have dictators. They have emirs. They're nice too. You know, emirs right under there near a king along the same line. Oh, and by the way, the Fleet, the U.S. Fifth Fleet is stationed in Bahrain, where the minority Sunni government is suppressing the Shia majority very violently. Revolution going on there. Revolution and civil war in Syria. Civil war in Yemen. Borders up against Saudi Arabia, and there are a lot of people there that are disgusted with the Saleh government that they just half overthrew, that the United States have been supporting for 40 years. Then you keep moving around. You go to Morocco. Things are very unstable there. Go over to Greece. You want to talk about a revolution going on? How about that one? It's class warfare. That's right, 25% of the people unemployed, 50% youth unemployment, and the country filled with immigrants that have escaped from Iraq, Afghanistan, and Africa into Greece when Greece was thriving, looking for work. Now they got to get them out of there. Then you go over to Italy. The thing is collapsing. Spain has collapsed. The indignados, millions of them taking out to the streets in revolution. Keep going around the world and you see the same story, different picture, different names, and it's only a variation on the same theme. And then we're talking about the big one. And remember, Syria is all about Iran. Syria is the last place where the Russians and the Chinese have any foothold in the Mediterranean. And who is Syria's major ally? Iran. Who does Israel and the United States want to get rid of and subjugate? Iran. And now we're hearing, and we're writing actually the Autumn Trends Journal, and it's all about what's going on with Israel and their intents upon attacking Iran. And what's really reprehensible and outrageous, and I, as an American, find offensive, and I'm not making this up. And I don't want anybody saying, I'm an anti-Semite. I talk against my country when I don't agree with it. I'll talk about anybody else's country. It has nothing to do with that. Coming out of Israel, and I'm not making this up, as I said, they're coming from Israelis, that Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, is threatening to bomb Iran before the U.S. election. And this is, again, from the Israelis their news service, and it reads like this. Israeli leaders believe that President Obama, locked in a close election battle with Republican Mitt Romney, would be forced to back an Israeli strike, even though U.S. military chiefs are against it, for fear of alienating Jewish voters in key swing states such as Florida. Could you imagine that? What will Obama do? What will Israel do? Only time will tell. But here's what's going on. Start looking again at gold prices. Whoa, all of a sudden, now they're threatening to shoot over 1670. And I've been saying this for weeks now. When gold goes over 1675 and stays there for a while, the next stop is 1770. After 1770, we forecast 2000, gold 2000, and it could well go above. I only put a cap on it because I never know what the government is going to do, the U.S. government or the central banks, to depress it or to make it, as they did before, the sale of gold illegal.
All right.
It's a real probability.
Let me hop in here real quickly because the comment about gold is interesting. Well, that we've been looking at the same charts. We've been seeing the same thing. We have seen this really nice jump this week in particular. A lot of it having to do with this whole anticipation of the Fed, QE3, will the Fed pump out the money? And I want to ask you about the premium that might already exist in gold or even in the markets, because the markets even themselves are at a 5-year high or reaching the highest level in the last 5 years. So how much do you think this anticipation for QE3 has been built into the price of gold in the stock market? And do you think that they will springboard again as they did with QE2?
I think that, Jerry, this is why we do it different than everyone else. When you talk to economists, they're only looking at economic data. As you're mentioning QE2, a very legitimate reason for the price of gold going up. Because we're looking at the new numbers that just came out for new claims for unemployment. Oh, they went higher than expected. Yes, there was a boost in housing sales, but the prices are dropping. Yeah, price of corn and grains are skyrocketing as droughts continue to hit, some 62% of the United States, and our worst heat wave ever, that we ever had, the hottest July ever and the worst drought in over 50 years. All of this is playing into it. So when you put the package together, they're all key ingredients. You mentioned about what's going on with things heating up in the South China Sea and now putting military bases in Australia. Here is the scenario. We've seen this before. History is repeating itself, but the only thing people learn from history is nothing. The crash of 1929, the Great Depression, currency wars, trade wars, World War, the Panic of '08, the Great Depression. There's a depression in Spain, a depression in Greece. There's depressions going on in many places around the world, Eastern Europe and the U.S. Look at the jobs that are being created. Again, current events form future trends. Pew Research Institute comes out with a study showing that 50% of the kids graduating college being in debt, $70,000, $80,000, $100,000, making minimum wage jobs as cashiers and clerks. There's a depression. Currency wars, you look around the world, it's the same story every place. Currency wars, trade wars are next on the agenda. World war is already going on. When all else fails, after the bankers have robbed us blind and in public, not so blindly, they take you to war, and they're taking us to war now.
All right, my guest today is Gerald Celente, the publisher of TrendsJournal newsletter. You can go online at TrendsJournal.com and get your copy, subscribe. I highly encourage it. Now, but let's go back to Israel and the whole idea which you had brought up, because I'll take a slight issue with it, because while I am by no means pro-war in any way, shape, or form, but I think my problem is that America just needs to extract itself from that region. So I mean, are you saying that you have a problem with Israel going after Iran, or are you saying that?
Oh, you bet I do, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because we're saying, Jerry, if Israel, I'm a trend forecaster. I don't look at things right or wrong, good or bad, what I like, what I don't like. I see the beginning of World War III. This is in Iraq. These are the Persians. They're not going anywhere. We're reading all the information coming out of there, and we've been writing about it in detail. This is the beginning. You know, there's this Bedouin saying, me against my brother and me against our cousin, my brother, me, and my cousin against our neighbor, my cousin, my brother, my neighbor, and I against the foreigner. This will unite the entire Middle East against Israel. This will be so hellish, we won't have to talk about the price of corn or the price of tea in China. This is going to be World War III. I dread it. I fear it if it happens. I want to give you a little background. If you go to our website, TrendsJournal.com, go to the forecast page, look at terrorism, and look at my call that was printed in USA Today. They used to run my top 10 trends in 2000. 2001 won't be our year, TrendSeer says. I warned that a wave of anti-Americanism was sweeping the globe and Americans wouldn't be safe at home or abroad. And I've been writing about Crusades 2000. Now, I know people think that 9/11 was an inside job. Whether or not it was, I don't know. But I do know the Twin Towers came down and the Pentagon was whacked. And then when I came out and everybody wanted to go into Afghanistan, I wrote, as a trend forecaster, that if Alexander the Great couldn't pull it off, if the British and the Russians couldn't do it, the Americans wouldn't do it either. And people didn't like to hear that. I said the same thing about Iraq. And that's why I'm saying about Iran. Yes, I care. But I also agree with you. It's none of our business. We can't fix Detroit. So that's why I'm concerned. Do you see the price of oil and the price of gold now? They attack Iran. You're going to see a bloodbath in the Middle East.
You know, a lot of the folks at home, Gerald, are getting their news, CNN, Fox News, all of these different, outlets, and they're drumming up a lot of sympathy for, Syria and, of course, the civil war that's going on there. There's a lot more that meets the eye that most people aren't really seeing and hearing and reading. But what's interesting is that there seems to be a lot of care and concern in the United States about the civil rights in Syria. Meanwhile, here in the United States, warrantless searches, secret prisons, drone warfare, an absolute annihilation through the NDAA and all of the other different things we've seen, the Patriot Act, an annihilation of our civil liberties right here in the United States. And it seems like the ones who are really concerned about those civil rights in Syria just don't even have their finger on the pulse at all what's happening here.
Yeah, they're just using the Syrian thing. It's such manipulation. We'd have Trends in the News features every day. We do, live video features every day. I do them. And I keep showing the information coming out of Syria. Pick up any newspaper. There's always these glorious shots of the rebels. Did you ever notice? Mm-hmm. You never see one shot, not one photo of the Syrian army. How do these reporters get right on the inside and getting all of these dynamic shots? This whole thing is an overthrow, is what I'm saying, and I agree with you. Americans don't have a clue of all the rights we have lost. This isn't America. America's turned into a fascist country. It's the merger of state and corporate powers. And as I said, they distract you with wars abroad as they keep robbing you from your rights at home. It's what Hitler did. It's what the Bush administration and the Obama administration are doing now with the Patriot Act, the NDAA, as you pointed out, with all of the executive orders being signed and the guidelines by the Attorney General's office. They are robbing us of our rights. They are enslaving us. We are becoming nothing more than, I guess, it's a plantation economy. It's better than the plantation system. They don't have to feed you. They don't have to or they give you a crummy little paycheck after you work your hours at Walmart or Target, send you home, and you're on your own. Get back to work tomorrow morning. So, yeah, when you look at the whole thing, Jerry, I agree with you 100%. You have a bunch of people that don't know what they're doing that are driving us to ruination, and everybody's sitting back and taking it.
The words of wisdom coming from Gerald Celente, my guest, TrendsJournal.com, TrendsJournal.com. I highly recommend you get a copy of his newsletter available there at his website. You can also find a link to it on our website, FTMdaily.com. Gerald, Julian Assange, WikiLeaks, Bradley Manning, all hitting the news this week as Julian making a pretty big speech, I guess the first time in 2 months. What's your take on the whole thing? Some people say that WikiLeaks really is a champion, a patriot. Others say that it's a terrible travesty and it's absolute treason. What's your take?
I was on Fox News talking about this, and of course I was the only guy on that side. There's a CIA guy on there all trying to jump on me. What are you kidding, you guys? I know our assets are going to be, at risk. Don't give me that line. I've heard that all my life. Why should I believe one thing that comes out of this government? I want to see everything that's coming out. I'm an American citizen. There's nothing at risk here. Oh, how about this at risk? Here, try this one on, folks. Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction and ties to Al-Qaeda, I tell you. And we have secret evidence, but we can't show you because then our operatives will be at risk. Oh, yeah, the Vietnam War. You remember that one? Yeah, the Gulf of Tonkin incident that never happened. Only killed, 58,000 of our soldiers and ruined the lives of several 100,000 others and destroyed a nation that did nothing to no one? Of course, I want to see everything. I don't believe anything. I want to see everything. I'm not voting. I will not vote for a lesser of two evils. I will not support this criminality any longer. I vote locally. I will not vote for the Gambinos or the Bonanos, the Lanskys or the Dutch Schultzes, or the Republicans and the Democrats. To me, it's a two-bit freak show.
I love the line in your newsletter this time about how people protect their freaks, because everyone has their pony in the race, so to speak, and they want to see their man win, whether it's the Christians voting for the Mormon and the Catholic team or the Democrats voting again for Obama. There seems to be this rabid, unbelievable undertow in America right now, and we're hearing rumors, and I know you've been hearing this for years even as well, about the idea that this all may be slipping into a civil war of sorts right here in the United States of America. We have been seeing many things occurring along these lines. We've seen the Department or the DHS and many other, even the Social Security Administration buying hollow point bullets of all things. We've seen mass orders of this, and some things have leaked out. We don't know the veracity of how real they are. But we're hearing that, in essence, what this is that the people at the highest levels are concerned. They know how crazy everything is. They know how mad the public is. This could turn into a civil war right here in America. I know you've been talking about this before. Illuminate our audience a little bit on your thoughts on a actual civil war occurring in America.
The entire economic system worldwide is breaking down. I'm going to give you a date that everyone will have very little difficulty remembering. September 12th. The day after 9/11. On that day, the German Supreme Court is going to rule whether or not it's constitutional for the German government taking the German people's money and putting it into these so-called stability packs and bailout programs and buying up worthless European bonds to solve the European debt crisis. If they vote against it and say it's not constitutional, you can see the euro unravel in days, if not weeks. It means the entire economic system is going to collapse. It's going to go into a free fall. First, you'll see a spike in the dollar. People will be jumping into it, like jumping out of the Lusitania and into the Titanic. And then America goes down. There's civil war. It's already happening. You're seeing it with these flash mobs. And you mentioned Julian Assange and Bradley Manning. Look at the two little guys they go after. Look at this. Look what they do. They break down every little person that gets in trouble. And this is what happens in failing societies. You used to hear when you heard about the Egyptian riots going on and the revolution, how they hated the police, because that's what happens in fascist and dictatorial countries. Yes, that's why they're buying hollow point bullets. Yes, that's why there's a Homeland Security Agency that's spending billions and billions of dollars arming police that they've now become the military. Yes, that's why there's the National Defense Authorization Act that now allows the military to take over police duties, the repeal of the 1878 Posse Comitatus Act that now gives the military the right to take over police duties. What has happened to our country? They've abrogated the Constitution. Yes, that's why a person like me or you that they don't like they can falsely accuse of having links to terrorists, and all of a sudden, we're gone. No judge, no jury, no lawyer, no trial, not even any charges. That's right, all you liberals out there. That's what El Presidente of Los Estados Unidos signed on New Year's Eve when no one was watching. Yeah, Los Estados Unidos, we've turned into a banana republic, a fascist banana republic. That's what's happening to America. I'm not making this up. The facts are there for anybody that cares to look at them.
And meanwhile, the John Corzines and the Goldman Sachs and all of these guys, as you have eloquently put on the front page of your newsletter, a nice illustration of Jesus whipping the banksters, kicking them out of the temple here in the summer issue of the Trends Journal. TrendsJournal.com, by the way, is how you can get a hold of Gerald's newsletter, TrendsJournal.com. All right, Gerald, just to wrap things up, I want to talk to you just very briefly about the Fed in our closing moments, because we are expecting some QE3 to occur, as we talked about earlier in this interview. QE3, I truly believe, is coming because the Fed has no other bullets, and they realize they have to do something because the boat is sinking, and they got to look busy while it's sinking. So what about you? What do you think the timing of QE3 is going to be? Do you think we'll see a hint at Jackson Hole later this month? Do you think we'll see a hint at the September meeting, or do you think we're going to have to wait until after the election?
It's hard to say, it'd be purely speculation, but I believe if I were to bet, I would bet it's going to come before. But will it work? Let's remember when Alan Greenspan tried to do that with Bush Sr., and it didn't work. I mean, it was just a little bit too late, and Clinton squeaked in. Of course, people are forgetting that Ross Perot took 19% of the votes, and a lot of that came from Bush support. But having said that, I believe it's going to happen. And it's not only the Fed that's going to juice the markets. The Chinese are, the Europeans are, they all are. And by the way, I'm only human. I'm a trend forecaster. I make virtually thousands of forecasts. I'm at this for 32 years. Our forecast is, and I'm a political atheist, as I said, I will not participate in voting for lesser of two evils. Having said that, we made that forecast on October 3rd, 2011. And we said if the front runners, and one of them was Romney, are the Republican choice, Obama plays the born-again populist, and all this is a presidential reality show, and he's a better actor than Romney is, and he does a better job at the teleprompter. They say that politics is show business for ugly people. Step right up.
Well, I know there's a big amendment out in Colorado right now allowing the people of that state due to come up in November on the ballot, to actually take a seed, walk out into their backyard, plant the seed, water the seed, and then harvest the plant that comes out of the ground, and then if they choose, smoke the plant if they so choose, transport the plant across to their buddy's house and smoke the plant. And believe it or not, they won't get thrown in jail. And that's, of course, the legalization, the most extreme form, obviously, and decriminalization of marijuana in Colorado. And that apparently is going to be a swing state. That's kind of something that people are watching, because if Obama can come across in a more civil tone towards those who want to see legalization, perhaps he could win some of the younger votes, especially that Ron Paul crowd.
I think he'll get those anyway. He's going to get those anyway. And this is, by the way, no one, not the Democrats, not the Republicans, are talking about cutting back on defense to the levels that Eisenhower warned us that the military-industrial complex was taking over the country. I want to see this thing cut back. That's why I would have voted for Ron Paul. Two reasons. That, bring the troops home, end our foreign involvement, and end the Fed. For those two reasons. There are other reasons I don't agree with Ron Paul, but I don't agree with these other guys on anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I would have voted for him.
You can always write his name in on the ballot if you show up.
It doesn't. No, you see, to me, that's perpetuating the system, because it's not going to mean anything at the end. And to me, here's my campaign slogan: 40% or less. If they get only 40% of people to turn out, I say we could call this an invalid election. We want something better than these two lesser of two evils. Look at these people that are talking out there. This guy Aiken and this other guy, was it Knight or somebody, saying that if you get raped, you're not going to have a baby. I mean, come on with this stuff. Look at the quality of the people that are running this country. I'm sick of it. I've had it. And I can't believe people still believe this, politicians. That's what blows me away, that they actually take this stuff seriously.
My guest is Gerald Celente. We're in the very final remaining moments. He makes the phrase, ignorance is bliss, so true, so true. And I want to get just your real quick take for those listening who said, I totally agree with Gerald and on many things, especially on the economic front. I see war coming. I see all these things happening. There's that old phrase, those who don't know history doomed to repeat it, Santayana said. So with you knowing history the way that you have, you've studied this, you know kind of where things may be heading. What are you doing?
Only speaking for myself, for financial advice. I've been buying gold and silver forever. Gold since 1978. And one of my friends has the best strategy that I know. Every month, he buys a little bit of gold, a little bit of silver, whatever he could afford. Puts it away, it averages out nicely. Number two, if you have a kid and you're going to send him to college, don't waste your money unless there's going to be a return on investment. Don't waste your money. Get them into a trade, something they could do with their hands and their mind. And also, get off the grid as much as you can. And shop locally. Pay a little more, buy better quality. Those are the things. We have farmers markets right here in Kingston. I support my local people as much as I can. I don't go to Dunkin' Donuts. Olive Garden's not Italian food. I go to the local coffee shops. Keep as much money as you can in your community.
You grow your own food?
Some of the things.
Do you grow some of your own food?
Well, I'm a single guy now, and I used to live I had a place in Rhinebeck with huge gardens. But I got Lyme's disease twice, and Dutchess County has one of the highest rates of it, and I was on my back for almost 4 months. And so I'm out of the garden business for a while. But I may put a rooftop garden on one of our buildings.
All right, friends, you've been listening to an interview with Gerald Celente. He is the publisher of the Trends Journal, TrendsJournal.com. I encourage you to go get a copy of the Trends Journal. Gerald, tell us real quickly about the journal. How much does it cost? How do people get a hold of it? And why should they get a hold of it?
Well, the why is that if you want to see what's happening and plan for it, I could say with all confidence there's nothing like the Trends Journal. We will prepare you like no one else. You'll see history before it happens. You'll be ahead of the news and on top of the trends. And also, it's $99 a year for 44 pages of advertising-free, full-color, art-filled content, again, that you won't find anyplace else. I recommend really the print edition. It's a beautiful magazine. That's $185. But you also get every day, Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, we do Trends in the News features. So we keep you way, way ahead of the news and on top of the trends. You're not going to be missing anything that's going on in the world. And we know that people are having a difficult time. So we have a discount request page. We try to make the Trends Journal available to everyone that we can. So if you're having financial difficulties, it's nothing personal. You don't have to give us personal information. Just tell us, just fill out the little form there. And we try to do our best to make the Trends Journal available to everyone so that they can prepare, prevail, and survive the times ahead.
Our guest today has been Gerald Celente, always illuminating and always controversial. You don't always have to agree with every single detail.
Oh,
yeah, you don't
exactly.
Yeah.
Our motto here. Think for yourself. I don't tell anybody what to think. This is just the way I see it. I can't stand those people that want to tell you what anybody should believe. This is how I see it. Everybody should see it through their own eyes. I always make that clear, Jerry, that I'm not preaching what to do or how to do it. This is just the way we see it.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for coming on the program, Gerald. We'll see you next time.
Okie doke. Thank you, and good luck with your book.